delighted to be here and so happy to be here with all these amazing women in hats, and I do not have a hat. I was talking to some other people earlier. I don't do hats well, and my husband actually confirmed that for me a couple of days ago. I was grateful for the honesty, because you know, nobody ever, we women, we all want to tell each other how great we look, and that's really nice, but if somebody doesn't look good in something, we owe it to each other too. You know, like if your girlfriend's trying on leggings and they're, just tell her, okay? Do us all a favor, do her a favor and tell her. So anyway, Happy New Year time when we do those things called resolutions. Everybody does their New Year's resolutions. Most of those resolutions, and how many of you have made these resolutions? Resolutions that require working harder, sweat, or denial. That's pretty much the big three for all of us. Working harder, sweat, and denial. So of course, how many of you are on the road, the fast track, to failing miserably at those resolutions? I know I am. I've already failed at most of them. So what I want to do today is give you 5 new resolutions, or as I like to call them, commandments, that will have you working less, enjoying life more and having some fun, and taking better care of yourself. That's not bad for a 54-year-old, right? So that's not why I'm showing you that, although I will gratefully accept it. My daughter gave me a copy of that picture on Christmas morning, and my mother happened to be with us on Christmas morning. And I showed my mother that picture, and I have to do the face. This was her reaction. You're insane. That was her commentary to me. Now, she said that because of the skirt, which in her mind was way too short for her 54-year-old daughter to be wearing. Now, here's the thing, and this is the point. If that skirt had been 2 inches longer, my mother would have said, "You look so nice. That's a great picture." 2 inches. And that's the point. What we're going to talk about today are incremental changes, little things that you can do to tweak your life that are going to have you working less, taking better care of yourself, and having some more fun. Before we figure that out, before we get into that, we have to figure out what's holding us back. And for me, it was granny panties. Granny panties, and let me ask all of you here, don't answer, don't raise your hand, I don't know. How many of you are wearing granny panties? Don't answer. Now, how many of you are wearing them and you don't even know it? Granny panties are as much a state of mind as they are a giant pair of unmentionables. And it's the ones that we wear up here that are far more dangerous than anything that we could wear down there. This first commandment or resolution was inspired by men. Men have achieved a level of mastery at this that we can only aspire to. But we need to take a look at the men, and we need to learn from them, because men are masters of ignorance. Here's your first commandment or resolution. Thou shalt ignore more. Men are really, really good at ignoring things. Unless it's over a sporting event, you will very rarely find a man with his granny panties in a bunch. And that's because he pretty much ignores everything else that's going on around him. But they have uncovered the key to a serene and unperturbed lifestyle. Now, it starts fairly young for them, and scientifically, what we have to understand about men is it's been scientifically proven that they can literally not hear many tones in the female voice and in higher pitched voices. So that has very conveniently allowed them to transfer that into what my husband has come to call the Sergeant Schultz. We have to start learning how to selectively ignore things. And the first thing that we have to ignore, girls, don't listen to this. The first thing we have to ignore is our kids. Not when you're little, but as your kids get older, we have to start selectively ignoring them, especially their emotional stuff. Here's the thing. Mindful ignorance is truly blissful. It opens up space in your head. It gives you time. And it allows everybody else to sort of concentrate on their own stuff. So take a cue from the men in your life, and again, I won't say that often, but take a cue from the men in your life, and don't be afraid to get ignorant. Before we can become masters of ignorance, we have to do something that I'm sure is very challenging for every woman in this room. Thou shalt lose control. How many control freaks do we have in here? I'm a control freak. I think everybody is to a degree. Every woman is a control freak to a degree, especially if you have kids and you have a family. I mean, think about all of the things that you juggle in a day. Juggle things all of the time. My biggest problem with being a control freak was when we were on vacation. We would go on Disney vacations. It was okay if we had fun, but it was really more important that we stuck to my plan because I needed to be in control. Women have to be in control, but really, how much control do you really have over anything? Especially if you're a parent and the first time you had that first kid, you lost control. If you ever really had it in the first place. But the first time that first kid came along, that was the end of that. And if you don't have children, there's pretty much any incident in your life where, you know, if you're a mother, if you're a sister, if you're an aunt, if you're in anything, if you're an employee, you don't have control. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that we have to maintain to a degree because otherwise chaos will reign, but it's still an illusion. And yet, as women, we are still constantly advised to exert control. Sheryl Sandberg recently, she's the COO of Facebook, the Chief Operating Officer of Facebook, and she recently came out with her book, Lean In, advising women to take control, be aggressive, take control of your life and of your career. But here's the thing, before we can take control of our stuff, we have to understand one important thing. You're not the boss of everything. And I'm not the boss of everything. Remember when you were little and your older sister or somebody tried to tell you what to do and you said, "You're not the boss of me." Well, we're not the boss of everything either. And guess what? That's good. It's really great to not be the boss of everything. Being the boss of everything is really, really hard. You've got to learn to let go. Before you can lean into your life, you have to back off of everybody else's.